Alright, here's what's gonna happen next. We're gonna do this movie review real quick. Not gonna have any other problems. Capiche? Not gonna have any problems, are we?
4. What's it take, Francis? 3. I'm telling you, this is the truth.
You want to survive the night? You look them dead in the eyes, and you pretend you're one of them.
And today we have The Outfit. God, I apologize in advance. I'm behind a little bit in getting some reviews recorded and posted just in time for the end of March, early April, where out of nowhere there's like, I don't know, there's gonna be like 3 to 5 that are back to back. Like this weekend's gonna be, it's gonna be a rough one. But today we have another one of those films that probably flew under everybody's radar, because I tell you what, if I didn't monitor this shit, it would have flown under mine. The Outfit, kind of came out of nowhere. It's another one of those films where I just saw a trailer for it, and then a couple more, because again, marketing, it looked decent. There's a guy who owns a clothing store. He's a tailor, a koto, and gets tangled with the mob and has to fix a guy up in the back room, and increasingly more dramatic events ensue basically. But this has at least one big name. I guess there's multiple names in it you might recognize, but there's only one. I knew the face of the main guy. I didn't know his name, I knew the face. But The Outfit came out in this year, 2022, and is directed by a Graham Moore. As far as my research shows, this is his, honestly, aside from a short film he worked on, this is his directorial debut. In terms of star power, again, I guess there might be multiple faces that you might be oh, I know this person or that person, but for me, mostly it's the star, which is Mark Rylance, a name that most of you probably won't know. I didn't know it. It's not so much that he had any breakout roles in specific film or television bits, but he's been in a lot. If you start looking up his filmography, there's future films coming up, there's old films, there's modern films. This film, he keeps cropping up a little bit everywhere, but he's great. He's very good at playing whatever character he's assigned to. I think he might be kind of typecast, but whatever he's working with, he does a good job, as does the rest of the cast. Don't get me wrong, I just don't think there's anybody of major note or consequence that would be worth really mentioning here, but that's just my opinion. Everybody did a good job though. So getting right into it, The Outfit is kind of a hidden little gem, honestly. There's very few things wrong with this movie for me, but at the same time, I use the movie kind of sparingly here. It mostly takes place in and outside of one location. In a way, this kind of does what Hateful Eight did. Hateful Eight was originally written as a stage play, right? And it was written, the script was leaked, Tarantino got all pissy about it, and so he was like, well, I'm not gonna do it anymore. And so we got a bunch of his, close actor friends to instead perform a rendition of it, do a read-through basically on stage. And that was so well received that eventually he filmed it. But again, it was written for a stage, so very few locations and a lot very dialogue and character action driven. Similar to The Outfit. The Outfit's really good. It feels like you're watching a play. Without giving away any major plot developments, it's more there's various twists and turns throughout the narrative. So there's something always keeping the plot going. Now, whether you would call any of that predictable or not, I'll leave that to your discretion, but I think there were some bits here and there that I kind of I called a little bit, but overall, with a lot of movies like this, I kind of let myself go along for the ride because I want to experience those narrative twists and turns. I'm not trying to overanalyze it or anything too much. Overall, I'd say it's simple, enjoyable, and it's that aesthetic that I love. I mentioned the same thing in Nightmare Alley. Different vibes for that movie, but at the same time, very similar 40s, 50s, I believe 53 maybe that was what it was, but similar aesthetic in terms of just a lot of even with gangsters and whatever class you are, it's people are trying to dress a certain way. It's a lot of suits, ties. The whole theme of the film is this guy who runs his own shop where he literally makes suits from scratch and and tailors them and alterations and is a cutter, as he says. He makes suits for these people, including people that happen to be part of the mob. He's trying to keep to his own, but he ends up getting dragged into it one way or the other. Language, they all kind of use the parlance of the time, so it all tracks. I have no complaints there. I kind of knew what I was getting into, and they stayed true to the vibe overall. Honestly, the writing and narrative was very well done. All characters were believable. They all played who they were. Their motivations were all sound. Some questionable decisions and judgments are made, but it's very situational and character based. I wasn't like yelling at the screen being like, why the hell are you doing that? It all worked. It was a solid script, well written, well acted. Again, no complaints. It's rated R. I think mostly the R is for language, but there is violence. But at the same time, it's tasteful violence. Like, people do get shot in this movie, and people bleed out in this movie, and there's like some serious wounds people get inflicted. We're not talking about like limbs being ripped apart or, bodies being torn asunder here, but there's definitely enough blood and just enough gore where you can give that a nice solid R. But I think it's mainly for language. But the violence only accentuates the movie as it goes, and I think just adds to the film, and is never a distraction, but it's more like that's what happens when someone gets shot. In terms of the very few complaints that I have, I do wish the movie was just a tad more engaging. I would not go as far as to call this film a slow burn. It is not a slow burn. However, I always use this term, your average moviegoer might be nodding off here or there in the more dialogue, because you have in more dialogue-focused scenes, I'm a fan of scenes that, I'm a cinephile, right? So when it comes to giving me time to give dialogue, develop character, show character traits, give me some exposition, fill in the story, I'm all there for. I'm on the edge of my seat listening to that shit. But a lot of people are like, oh my god, how much of this is just talking? So it's like, I get that. Not everybody's about that. People will go watch Stranger Things but don't want to sit down and watch House of Cards. I completely understand. I will only judge you quietly in a little bit. I'll try not to judge, but I can't help it because I'm like, the arts. If you're just watching this by yourself or with some friends and you're taking it seriously, you're in for a good time. If you're looking for something to put on that you might want to have some mild conversation with, you're trying to maybe do multiple things while you're watching it, maybe not the best recommendation for multitasking, but I went to go see Batman 4 times in theaters since it's been out, and I gotta say, 3 of the 4 times there's always some motherfucker talking in one of the rows behind me, so can't be helped. People just can't sit still and watch shit. Like I said, some character decisions are a tad questionable, which would still kind of detracts from the narrative just a hair, but again, not enough to ruin anything. It's not going to detract, it's not going to ruin the experience overall. It's enough for me to chalk it up to oh, well, why would this person do this, or this person's going to trust this, or why would they do that? But again, contextually it makes sense. If you're oh, well, for the sake of the movie and for the plot, yes, I suppose that would transpire like that. But again, just questionable. A lot of times, movies always have a certain thing, whether it's one scene, whether it's an element, or just it's so hard. It's always this certain je ne sais quoi, but it's something when I watch Pig or when I watch 1917, that movie has that wow factor that is equivalent to perfection for me. This film is near perfect film on paper in terms of what it brings to the table, the goal that it sets out to accomplish and accomplishes very well, its execution, directing, lighting, the aesthetic, the costuming, the dialogue, the acting, all the things that make a film, right? And it succeeds in all those fronts, just about. But there's just enough nitpicks and just enough of a feeling I get where it's yes, I really enjoyed that film, but I didn't love the film, and it's just because of that that's going to affect the rating. The outfit is honestly a very, very solid and sturdy 4 out of 5. It's a 4 out of 5. I would say it's worth it in theaters. It's definitely worth it to stream. I'll probably end up buying it if I had to guess. It might not be for everyone. If you like any of what I talked about before, if you like a nice, compelling drama / mostly thriller, a drama thriller it's gonna be an R, so there's gonna be some solid violence, a lot of
profanity,
and just adult content, thematic themes, all that stuff. But a solid little twisty turny joyride that kind of feels like a stage play all in one location, which is cool because that means that the cast and crew and director really maximized use of their budget and of the set, essentially, which I like that a lot. So I'm here for it. it might not be everybody's cup of tea. And if I had to really dig deep for complaints, again, wish the movie was a tad more engaging. It lacked that certain wow factor for me. It was good, but just not like exciting and like perfect. And again, I feel bad about complaining, but again, it's just, that's it. And some character decisions were a little bit weird. Some people might not be a fan of it. I think overall, critically, it's been received fairly well, but marketing wasn't great for it. It was like decent marketing, but it's not like a big budget blockbuster film, and it's not a film that a lot of people, I don't think, are going to be talking about. Like, I even haven't heard much about any of the reviewers out there doing it, but I'd say The Outfit's worth it. The Outfit's a really great movie. I'm going to probably watch it again in the future. It's a solid watch. There's better films that I could recommend, but overall, you're not in for a bad time. It's a good little, maybe date night movie. I don't know, like whatever your gal's into, or your guy, or whatever. But yeah, that's all the time that I have for today. That was my review of The Outfit, a quick one. Sorry if the quality is a bit more lacking. I'm trying to catch up right now. I got a lot more on the way, but as always, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode of whatever movie I review. And goodbye, travelers.